So I bet you've been seeing all these headlines about gold, right? Hitting those record highs and all. Makes you wonder if maybe it's time to, jump in and invest.
Yeah, it's definitely got people talking.
Totally. And you know what? You were smart enough to send over this CBS News article.
Oh, right.
Yeah. And it really digs into this whole gold thing. And they actually talk to some financial experts too, so we get like both sides of the story. Plus, get this. Costco is selling gold bars now.
Really?
Yeah. Isn't that wild? Gold bars at Costco. Who would have thought? All right, let's dive in.
Well, I gotta admit, it is kind of interesting to see like how popular gold has gotten lately. Almost feels like it's having like a moment. But before we get too excited, maybe we should take a step back and look at what's actually causing all this gold rush.
Yeah, for sure. The article actually mentions that gold prices have gone way up past $2,600 an ounce,
Wow.
which is like a huge jump from last year. I think it was around $1,800 on average.
Yeah.
So what do you think is making the price shoot up like crazy?
Yeah. Well, they talk about a few different things in the article, like kind of all happening at once. First, there's, well, inflation. The dollar's not worth as much, so gold starts looking pretty good.
Right, because gold has always been seen as a safe bet, right?
Yeah.
Especially when everything else is kind of shaky.
Exactly. And then you've got, well, all the stuff going on in the world, geopolitical stuff, makes people a little nervous about the usual investments. Oh, and don't forget about the election coming up. That always throws things for a loop.
Yeah, true. It's like everything's pointing people towards gold right now. They want something that feels, I don't know, solid and secure.
Exactly.
But here's the big question, the one everyone's asking. Should you wait for the price to drop before you buy any?
Ah, that's the million-dollar question, isn't it? And the article actually presents like two different perspectives. It's like a financial tug of war.
Okay, I'm intrigued. Lay it on me. Who's saying buy now, and who's all about that wait-and-see approach?
Yeah. All right, so in the buy now corner, we've got this guy, Ben Nadelstein. He's the head of content over at Monetary Metals. And his argument is pretty straightforward. You just never know if gold will actually drop in price, significantly.
Oh, that's interesting. So, even if it dips a little, it could just shoot right back up again.
Exactly. And he even mentions that, interest rates might go down, which could make gold even more attractive.
So he's basically saying it's better to be in the game than to try and time it perfectly right.
Yeah, that's the gist of it. He's all about the long game with gold, especially if you're worried about inflation, or just want something tangible to hold on to.
I mean, it does make you think, is trying to perfectly time the market just setting yourself up for stress and maybe missing out?
Right. And this other expert, James Cordier, he's the CEO of Alternative Options, he actually backs up Nadelstein's point. He says that historically, people who've held on to gold for a long time, they've generally made money.
Oh, interesting. Even with all the ups and downs.
Yep. And he says there's a good reason for that.
Okay, I'm all ears. Spill the beans.
Well, gold has, intrinsic value, right? It's not unlimited. It's a finite resource. And, people actually use it for stuff, like technology and stuff.
Oh, right. So it's not just some made-up thing. It has real-world applications.
Exactly. So there's this underlying demand that helps keep the price somewhat stable, even when everything else is going crazy. It's not like, say, a tech stock that can just, plummet based on, how people are feeling.
Right, that makes sense. So it's not just speculation. There's actual value there.
Exactly.
But I'm guessing not everyone's buying into this whole buy now thing?
Of course not. There's always another side to the story. And that's where this guy, Eric Elkins, comes in. He's the CEO of Double E, and he's urging a bit more, caution.
Oh, okay. What's his take?
Well, he thinks waiting for the price to dip could actually end up making you more money. But, and this is a big but, only if you can time the market just right.
Ooh, that's a risky move, isn't it? Trying to time the market. I feel like even experts get that wrong sometimes.
Totally. And Elkins even admits that. He's not saying it's easy, but he thinks it's potentially more profitable for those who are willing to, play the waiting game. But even he knows that if the price keeps going up, you might miss out.
So it's like a gamble either way, right?
Mm-hmm.
Do you play it safe and buy now, or do you hold out and hope for a dip? What's someone who's, interested in gold but nervous about these record prices supposed to do?
Well, there's this thing called dollar cost averaging.
Dollar cost averaging.
Yeah, it's a way to kind of, lessen that risk of timing everything perfectly.
Okay, I'm listening.
So basically, instead of waiting for the perfect moment to buy a ton of gold all at once, you just invest a little bit at a time.
So you're not putting all your eggs in one basket at what might be like the highest price.
Right, exactly. Like every month or every quarter, you put in the same amount of money no matter what the price is.
So when the price is low, you're buying more gold, and when it's high, you're buying less.
Exactly. It all averages out in the end, you know?
Right.
And it kind of takes the emotion out of it, too. You're not, like, freaking out every time the price jumps up or down.
That's a good point. Still like a more calm and steady approach.
Yeah, exactly. And it can actually help you get a better overall price than if you tried to time it perfectly and just bought it all at once.
I like that. I remember the article mentioned Christopher Mediate. He's president of Mediate Financial,
Oh, yeah.
and he seemed to be a big fan of dollar cost averaging.
Yeah, he was. He said it's especially good in markets like this, you know, where things are kind of all over the place. You
Yeah.
can like gradually build up your holdings of gold and get more when the price is, you know, more to your liking.
I see. So whether you're like ready to buy gold right this second or you're more of a wait and see type,
Mhm.
there are ways to, approach this whole thing in a smart way.
Right.
Okay, so let's say you've, thought it all through and you've decided you want to buy some gold.
Yeah.
How do you actually do it? What are the options?
Well, the article actually does a pretty good job of breaking down the different ways you can invest in gold. There's, you know, the obvious one, buying actual physical gold.
Right.
Like getting those shiny gold bars or coins.
Yeah, exactly. And remember, we were talking about Costco earlier. Well, guess what? You can actually buy gold bars at Costco now.
It's crazy, right? Like you can pick up a gold bar with your giant tub of mayonnaise. It's like gold is becoming mainstream.
It really is. But, you know, for a lot of people, there's something really appealing about having that physical gold. You can hold it in your hand. It feels real and safe.
Yeah, it's like owning a little piece of history.
Exactly.
But what about people who don't want to like store gold bars under their mattress? Or maybe they're thinking more about retirement savings.
Good point. Well, there's something called a gold IRA.
A gold IRA.
Yeah, you know how you have a regular IRA for retirement?
Right.
Well, you can actually have a special IRA that holds physical gold.
Oh, wow. I didn't know that. So you're basically using gold to diversify your retirement savings.
Yeah, exactly. You're adding in something that has, you know, historically held its value pretty well. It can help protect you against inflation, too.
That's pretty cool. So you've got
Yeah.
physical gold and gold IRAs. But what if you don't want to deal with the hassle of actually owning gold, but you still want to, get in on the action?
Well, then you've got things like gold stocks and ETFs.
Okay, I've heard those terms thrown around, but I'm not really sure how they work.
So with gold stocks, you're basically buying shares of companies that, you know, mine gold or explore for gold.
Right. So you're not actually buying gold. You're buying a piece of a company that deals with gold.
Right, exactly. And your returns, they depend on how well that company does, which is, you know, affected by all sorts of things, not just the price of gold, like how well they're managed, how efficient their operations are, all that stuff.
So it's a bit more risky than just owning the gold itself.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
But it also has the potential for higher returns if the company does really well.
I see. And what about ETFs? What are those all about?
So ETFs, those are exchange traded funds, and they're basically like baskets of gold related stuff. It could be stocks from different gold mining companies, or it could even be actual physical gold.
So it's like a more diversified way to invest in gold.
Right. You're spreading your risk across multiple companies or, you know, the actual gold itself.
Sounds like a good option for someone who wants to get involved in gold, but doesn't want to, pick and choose individual stocks or deal with storing physical gold.
Exactly. It's a bit more hands off.
Okay, cool. And I remember the CBS article mentioned one more option, gold futures.
Ah, yes. Gold futures. Now we're getting into more advanced investing territory.
Okay, so maybe not for beginners.
Probably not.
Mm.
You really got to know what you're doing with this one.
Yeah.
So with gold futures, you're basically like making an agreement to buy or sell a certain amount of gold at a certain price on a certain date in the future.
So it's like betting on where the price of gold is going to go.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
And if you get it right, you can make a lot of money. But if you get it wrong, well,
You could lose a lot too.
yeah, exactly. It's high risk, high reward. The article even says that, you know, gold futures are really only for people who, you know, really understand the market and are comfortable with that level of risk.
Got it. So it sounds like there's a way to invest in gold for everyone, right?
Mm.
Whether you want to hold the actual gold in your hand or you're more comfortable with something like an ETF.
Yeah, there really is. It's pretty cool how one asset can be, you know, approached in so many different ways.
It is. But no matter how you choose to invest, the most important thing is to do your research right.
Absolutely. You got to understand the risks involved and make sure it fits with your, you know, your overall financial goals.
Definitely solid advice. Okay, so we've talked about what's driving the price of gold up. I've talked about whether you should buy now or wait for a dip.
Oh.
And we've talked about the different ways you can invest. But I feel like there's still something missing. I mean, the CBS article is great, don't get me wrong. They lay out the whole gold market situation really well and all the different ways you can, invest. But it got me thinking, what about all the stuff they didn't mention? Like, what else could affect gold prices down the line?
Ah, yeah. You got to think outside the box, right?
Exactly. So besides inflation, geopolitics, and elections, all that stuff they talked about, what else should someone who's, really into gold be paying attention to?
Hmm. Well, one thing that's kind of interesting is like the whole rise of cryptocurrency.
Oh, yeah. Like, could Bitcoin and all that actually, challenge gold as that safe haven asset?
Yeah. Some people think so, especially with Bitcoin. It's decentralized, and there's a limited supply, so it kind of has that same appeal for folks who are like looking for something outside the traditional financial system.
It's like a battle of the alternative investments,
Yeah.
right? Gold, the classic, versus crypto, the up-and-comer.
Exactly. It'll be interesting to see how that plays out. And then you can't forget about the whole sustainability thing. More and more investors are getting concerned about, environmental stuff, social issues, that kind of thing. So the impact of like gold mining, that could become a bigger deal.
Yeah, that makes sense. Gold mining can be kind of rough on the environment, right?
Mhm.
Deforestation, all those chemicals they use. If investors start caring more about that, could that, I don't know, make gold less popular?
It's definitely possible. Some folks might like look for more eco-friendly options or even put pressure on those mining companies to clean up their act. It just goes to show you how like these bigger trends can really impact the gold market.
Definitely. Oh, and then there are those crazy, unpredictable things, right? Those events that nobody sees coming that can just shake up the entire economy.
Oh yeah, those black swan events.
Exactly. It's a good reminder that you can do all the research in the world, but there's always going to be some risk, some uncertainty. But I guess that's part of what makes investing so, exciting.
It definitely keeps things interesting. But that's why it's important to, make informed decisions. Understand the basics, stay up to date on what's happening, and be ready to like adjust your strategy when things change.
So for all our listeners who've been following along with this gold conversation, what's the one big takeaway? What's like, the golden nugget of wisdom, so to speak?
Well, I think the main thing is investing in gold or anything really. It's not a, one size fits all kind of thing. You got to figure out what your goals are, how much risk you're okay with, and how long you plan to invest.
And do your research. We've given you a good starting point with this deep dive into that CDS article, but the real journey starts now, right? Take this info, keep learning, and form your own opinions.
Exactly. Don't be afraid to ask questions, look at different viewpoints, even challenge what everyone else is saying. Investing is a long game, not a quick sprint.
Couldn't have said it better myself. This has been a super interesting look at the world of gold. It's amazing how much there is to talk about with just one asset. We covered the gold rush, the whole buy now or wait debate, different investing strategies, and even some of the things that could shape the future of gold. Who knows, maybe we'll revisit this topic in another deep dive and see what's changed.
Sounds good to me. Until then, everyone, happy investing.